Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 274th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. Can't complain. How are you?
I'm doing well. Trying to think of anything interesting at all.
Anything.
There's just nothing. No.
Just nothing.
Just nothing.
Well, I'm staring right at this framed note that we have from Dennis Gates.
Yes.
On this little bookcase over here. And it says, "Thank you for all your support." I can't read it. Continue to do your very best.
Exactly.
MIZ.
And
that makes me want to do my best every time I look at it.
I think we've lived up to that every day since we've received it.
Yeah. We try.
I think we showed that on air before.
Maybe.
Yeah. Britt got us that.
Yeah. Good friend Britt. I saw Dennis Gates on an airplane.
And got him to just jot down a little note for us.
Just write us a little note.
Yeah. Incredible job.
Incredible.
Maybe someday we'll have like a camera over here looking at me that will catch that in the background.
It'll be there.
Get some posters behind you. Who knows? We just recently got the producer cam going, and now we're having issues that we might not even be able to use that this week. We'll see.
We'll see. I'll wave anyway.
Maybe he's there. Maybe he's not. His voice is there at least.
That's why we can't have nice things, man.
Yeah.
Just hold new set of challenges.
Technology. What all are we going to talk about this week? We're going to talk basketball. They're looking decent, if not good even. Who knows at this point? Got to play Kansas, though. We'll talk about that. We will talk transfer portal. There's some names out there that have been linked to Missouri that we want to talk about. Before we get into all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and, of course, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Basketball. Missouri improves to 7-2 after defeating Wichita State 82-72 at home. This was kind of a weird one. I wasn't able to catch it live, so I watched a little bit of a replay on the ESPN app, watched some highlights, so it's a little bit fuzzy for me, unfortunately. But Missouri looked good. It reminded me of the Pittsburgh game where Missouri just kind of looked like the better team throughout. And, you know, this was a game they were supposed to win by all accounts, but they've been so inconsistent, you never really know. But I was very impressed. I thought, obviously, Sean East looked really good. I think this was the first time we've had Nick Honor, Sean East, Tamar Bates, Noah Carter, and Aiden Shaw as our starting five. So new starting five, I think. I was happy to see Bates in the starting lineup, but he only played 14 minutes. I was happy to see Aiden Shaw in the starting lineup, but he only played 13 minutes. Caleb Grill came off the bench and played like 25 minutes, had a really good game. A lot of good effort plays from him. Overall, it just looked like the good version of this team that we've seen a few times now.
Yeah. Yeah, we were in control most of the time, most of the game, and made it kind of interesting at the end. But and I kind of lived and died by the three a little bit again. But I think that's just kind of who this team's going to be. Maybe starting to gel a little bit. Caleb, like you mentioned, Caleb Grill is a player that kind of had a slow start, but
double for him.
Might be kind of finding his role a little bit more. So hopefully we start to see more of that.
Bates, in 14 minutes, though, he did manage to get 3 steals. That was something early on, like 3 minutes into the game, Wichita State already had 6 turnovers. And
didn't they start off like 12-0 or something like that, Missouri did?
Yeah, Wichita State turned the ball over 18 times.
Wow. That's
a good number for Missouri. And Missouri only turned it over 9 times. And that was the difference in the game, basically. And Missouri it's been kind of rare this season so far, but they were able to get to the free throw line and make their free throws. They made 23 of their 25 free throw attempts. So they were kind of living at the free throw line. Made 11 3-pointers. Sean East still making threes, 3 for 4. His numbers now are kind of insane. Still not a crazy number of attempts, but he's 13 of 21. That's 62% from 3. Third best in the nation.
That's pretty good. That'll play.
And he's shooting 57% from 2. but his usage is still fairly low. He's got a pretty good assist rate, though. Turning the ball over probably a little bit too much. But overall, he's been the star of the show so far early on. Nick Honor had 15 points. He's also shooting 45% from three. There was a couple plays. I feel like if there's an offensive rebound from Missouri, just find Nick Honor.
Yeah.
Because
so many second chance threes.
He makes the teams
transition
pay.
threes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Aiden Shaw, we talked about him a little bit. He had another game with 3 blocks, and he is one of the top guys in the whole country for block percentage so far early this season. And Missouri as a team, I think, is top 10 in blocks, 3rd right now in blocks. So it feels like, obviously, Coach Gates has talked about like sort of honing in on that strength for Shaw, blocks and rebounds, basically. And them focusing on that basically in one off season and so far this year, and the impact that has made on his ability to block shots, feels like that's something that should translate to like getting Jordan Butler to do the same thing from freshman to sophomore.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing like marked improvement in like specific skills is a really good sign, and just of the coaching staff's ability to develop the players. And we definitely love to see that.
I feel like we are just like going to have to mention Trent Pierce every show, just like a little Trent Pierce update.
Yeah.
He only played 6 minutes. Makes it a little bit confusing, all the stuff we were hearing. Like literally we heard a few things before the season started about how he was dominating scrimmages and like secret exhibition games and stuff. So we have not seen that yet. And unfortunately, I saw a stretch in the last game where on offense, airball's a 3, and then he doesn't get back, and Wichita State scores in transition, or maybe he fouls the guy. And it's just like, man, those are the kind of
Gotta
plays.
do the little things.
Those are the kind of plays that are keeping on the bench right now.
Yeah, I would say Trent Pierce and Tamar Bates playing time both are kind of head scratchers, maybe more so Bates than anything.
Yeah.
Considering he's kind of like a seasoned Power 5 player who has played quality minutes for a really good Indiana team. So that one definitely has surprised me, maybe more so than anything as far as like minutes go.
Vanover has looked good, scored 11 points and had a perfect 4 of 4 from the free throw line and made a 3. So he had it going offensively in just 17 minutes. And Anthony Robinson, just every single game, he makes a play where he does not look like a freshman.
Yeah.
He had a steal and then a bucket off of it against Wichita State. It's so crazy. I don't know. It feels like still, though, if this team was 8-1 and had just squeaked one out against Jackson State at home, it feels like a different vibe.
Yeah.
But this is the same team that's competing against these top 100 teams and winning on the road. Unfortunately, there is a massive road matchup that may just be insurmountable because Missouri has to go to Allen Fieldhouse and take on the Jayhawks, who are 8-1 on the season, number 2 team in the AP poll, and 11th on KenPom. They already have big wins this season against Kentucky, Tennessee, and most recently against UConn. That game was in Lawrence. They looked really good. But all 3 of those games were pretty close, and they had a little bit of a scare. Not quite a scare, but they only won by 8 against
Eastern Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's a game that, was a little too close for comfort, but unfortunately, this Kansas team is really good.
I know. It's like this is a Mizzou podcast. You can't even sugarcoat it. It's like Kansas is probably a top 5 team in the country. They added Hunter Dickinson from Michigan, who is one of the best players in college basketball. This series that they have started once again the last 2 years, neither game has been remotely close at all. Man, it's kind of discouraging. And then we got to go play at Allen Fieldhouse, which is, of course, one of the hardest places to win in the sport. And somehow this is the game that will probably be somehow really close. Like, because this team makes no sense.
Yeah.
This somehow will be the game that's competitive.
Yeah, Dickinson coming over from Michigan was just like, when that happened in the offseason, it was just like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course they're able to go get him.
Yeah.
A player of the year candidate.
Biggest transfer in the portal by far, I'm
just
sure.
a position of need.
Yeah.
And they just fill that spot with the best player you could hope to
like
get.
this versatile big man who will shoot threes and just like I don't know. Yeah, it's so frustrating.
And they bring back Kevin McCullough, who was at one time a transfer from Texas Tech. He's having the best season of his career. KJ Adams is back as a forward who is more efficient than ever, with Dickinson taking away the big man defender, and Dickinson is rebounding everything, so Adams is not having to worry about that as much. DeJuan Harris is still there, just one of the most solid, steady point guards in the country, who is like, doesn't really have pro prospects, but that's the kind of point guard that Bill Self wants.
Yep.
He wants somebody who can sort of be the floor general for 4 years.
Yeah, just like a distributing point guard who doesn't shoot much, but when he does is really efficient.
Yeah.
And is probably like 30 years old at this point.
And they've hit on a freshman guard named El Marco Jackson, who's a 4-star player out of high school. Not much of a three-point shooter, but as a freshman, he's already distributing the ball at a high level. One interesting name for them, though, is, do you remember they grabbed, what's the school? Towson transfer Nick Timberlake, who's like one of the top transfer portal prospects in the country this past offseason.
Yeah.
He's not really playing very much.
I feel like that's happened the last couple of years where there's like transfers who are, high performing guards or something coming out of like the Missouri Valley or, that level.
Yeah.
And then they just don't even play when they go to Kansas because
go to a place where they're covered up. Yeah.
I don't get it.
He shot 221 threes last season and made 42% of them. And he's playing 30% of available minutes and has only attempted 19 threes so far in 8 games. And, there was another team that had an opening at the 2-guard spot that would have let you shoot, 300 threes if you want. Some of those don't make any sense.
I agree. He was probably told he was going to be the star player, though.
Yeah. And honestly, maybe they're just getting these young guys some play early, and he'll take on a bigger role in conference play. But they're really good. Trying to find a weakness, they don't turn you over a lot on defense. It's kind of interesting. They also, like Missouri, their defensive average possession length is very high. So their teams are using up a lot of the shot clock against them. And they're not turning people over, but they're just not giving you good looks.
Mm-hmm.
Just consistently not giving you good looks. They're so athletic on the perimeter, and Dickinson cleans stuff up down low that it kind of makes it easy for them.
Yeah, I was watching their game against Connecticut from, I guess, last week is whenever that was. And just, exactly what you just said. UConn actually shot the ball pretty well from 3, but just nothing looked easy. They were throwing up crazy shots that were just going in. And that was like the only thing keeping them in the game. So it is not going to be easy. The environment, I'm sure, is going to be insanity because it's still Kansas, Missouri. And that's something to get excited about.
Yeah. Now, Kansas on offense, this is an interesting stat I found. They're number 1 in the country in assists per field goal made. So a very large percentage of their buckets are coming off of an assist.
Yeah.
So they move the ball well. They spread it around. They have multiple guys that can fill it up offensively. I think as a Mizzou fan, you got to just know that it's really hard to win there. And this Missouri team, if everybody gets hot at the same time, you've got enough 3-point shooters. I don't know. If I'm the coaching staff, maybe you try to play small a little bit and just rain threes. And if you're probably not going to win this game anyway.
If you're hitting, you're hitting.
Yeah. Shoot 45% on like 35 3-point attempts. Maybe you're in this game.
That's how those upsets happen in the NCAA tournament. I feel like those kind of like small schools just shoot 40 threes in a game and just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, get
Missouri's
Sean
played
East
really
going.
well on the road.
That's true. And
It's a little bit different environment than like Minnesota, but
true, but yeah, they've gone on the road now, played 2 true road games, and looked good in both of them. So they've got that under their belt. It's a little bit different environment, though. You're right.
a little bit. Cam, they are retiring Thomas Robinson's number or his jersey
Yeah.
at this game. It was a foul. First of
Yeah,
all, I'd
yeah.
like to say that. I'd like to make that clear.
Yeah.
It was a foul.
They're celebrating a missed call by the refs. But we're complaining about a missed call by the refs this many years later. That was just a heartbreaking moment. And it's just that's very clever of them.
That's very savage.
Yeah, to pull that out at this moment. But, anybody who was watching that game knows what actually happened.
Right. That's exactly right.
I was looking back I'm changing subject slightly, but
Thank you.
looking at Memphis, who is one of Missouri's only 2 losses. They climbed as high as 27th in KenPom with a win over Arkansas. But then they've lost their last 2 to Villanova and Ole Miss.
I thought I saw a tweet that Ole Miss stormed the court after beating Memphis. I don't know if anyone can vet that information.
It looks like it was fairly dramatic at the end.
Yeah, 3-point game maybe.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I
I thought I saw a picture of people on the court. So
That's-
that seems like
questionable behavior.
that seems literally impossible that you would storm the court after beating Memphis, but whatever. Yeah, Ole Miss, of course, really solid team so far with Chris Beard.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to predict a win in Lawrence, Kansas, because even if Missouri made, 23s in this game, there's more factors to overcome. You've got more. You got the crowd and you got the refs.
Absolutely.
So they feed into each other and make this just
Yeah.
this
It's all
little
connected.
whirlpool of awfulness.
What bogus calls will we get to witness on Saturday?
I'd love to just be in a position where it
matters.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Let me see if I have any other basketball stuff here. What's Missouri's schedule after that? Play Seton Hall in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But that we'll talk again before that. So Seton Hall, Illinois, Central Arkansas, and then conference play begins January 6th.
Illinois has been playing well too. So
14th in KenPom.
couple of big games still left in the non-conference.
Yeah, I'd like to see one thing Missouri could do a little bit better, I think, is just keeping up that trips to the foul line. Got to keep that going. Did such a good job against Wichita State, but that's been absent in a couple other games.
Yeah, keep driving to the basket and actually shoot.
Yeah, Sean East, keep shooting the ball, buddy. You're doing awesome. 22 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals.
Yeah, that's a great game. He's gonna make me regret saying that you can't have a tournament team with Sean East being your leading scorer all season. He's looking like he might make me regret saying that.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to some football stuff. Before we do that, producer Cameron, do you have our mailbag question queued up?
No, but I'll get it queued up real quick.
All right.
Bro had one job. I'm just kidding. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we've got another mailbag question, this time about Coach Drink.
Keep them coming.
I was
I
thinking
say-
more about last week's mailbag. I just that question keeps haunting me
It's irking you.
because I don't want to lose any of the 3. But
You don't have to, at least as of now,
in real life, we don't have to, thank goodness. But I think
which is the best life.
your argument about DRF maybe being the one to replace, I think it makes sense.
I thought you were gonna call me out.
No.
Yeah, like your argument just is.
No?
The more I think about it, is just terrible.
No, I think it makes sense.
I don't even remember what my argument was.
Basically, just of the 3, she was the one you would be most okay with replacing.
Okay, gotcha.
And if I saw like breaking news right now,
Yes.
Eli Drinkwitz got hired to go coach, I would be devastated.
I would physically fall to my knees.
Yeah. If this past offseason, Dennis Gates was hired away,
I would fall to my knees.
yes.
Yeah.
If I get breaking news that Desiree Reed-Francois is now taking over as athletic director of some other place. I probably fall to my knees, but then I'm thinking like, there's got to be someone already here, or like, there, we can fix this.
Yeah.
Like we can recover from this.
I agree.
It would kind of feel like just like grabbing at everything, just trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
Let's
Keep the magic going.
Keep it together, but feels more possible maybe.
I agree.
Okay, our mailbag question from this week is from Rylan. Rylan says, I am a firm believer in Coach Drink, but if he does end up with some subpar seasons in the future, how long is his leash? I'm assuming this year got him a little extra leeway, considering he was on the hot seat last season.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. I would maybe push back on hot seat accusations slightly. I think some fans were there, though, with him.
Yeah, I think for the most part, yeah.
This season...
I don't think we talked hot seat, really.
No.
Last off season.
But I can understand where you're coming from there.
It could have gotten there quickly.
Yeah. Right. This season could have put him on the hot seat.
Yes, absolutely
yeah. Now, the good news is we're probably not going to have to think about this too hard because, as I'm going to go over in some football news, Eli Drinkwitz, SEC Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Which nets him a nice little $25,000 bonus. And as far as I'm concerned, makes his leash infinite.
Yeah,
for the time being.
At this point, like I don't think we're going to be thinking about this for a while. Missouri football has more momentum than maybe ever. Is that crazy to say?
I mean, I would say
a lot of momentum in 2013-14.
2015 season. There was a lot of momentum there. Back-to-back SEC East and
going into 15.
Yeah.
Okay,
in theory, before everything went terrible, in theory, you were bringing back Matty Mock and DGB for a while.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Anyways, an incredible amount of momentum.
Yeah.
This transfer portal season, it's kind of probably only add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
We just
preseason expectations next year are going to be.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, so we just went 10-2. We're number 9 in the country. We're about to play Ohio State in a bowl, and very likely could win that game. We're definitely not thinking about it at all this offseason, but That's true. Coming into next season, expectations will be high. We're gonna probably keep the gang together, which means 8 wins floor, basically. So I guess if we just come out and somehow win 6 games next year, then or maybe we're thinking was last year a fluke, but.
I think maybe we got a sneak peek of what a hot seat trajectory could look like.
Right.
If this season that we just went 10-2 underwhelms, then he's absolutely on the hot seat going into next season.
Yeah.
But it would still feel like this is the year. Now, some fans would be done, depending on what that looked like.
Yeah.
Another 6-6 year.
Yeah.
A lot of fans are done.
Yeah. That's true.
And especially if the offense hadn't quite put it together.
Yeah, it's just going to depend on what your definition is of on mediocre. But I watched an interview with Brady Cook that he did maybe a couple weeks ago, where he was just talking about the transition from Barry Odom, which he was recruited by Barry Odom, and what that looked like going into a new coach and all this stuff. And we talk about how long it takes to rebuild a program, really kind of almost with recruiting in mind, and how long it takes to get, young players up to speed and stuff. But sometimes I think we forget about culturally internally how long it takes to get people rowing the boat the same direction. And there was a lot of, players and stakeholders that did not want to see Barry Odom get fired.
Right.
And so I think it was kind of a tumultuous transition.
Yeah.
And so obviously that added a year or two to getting everything going the right way.
And very rarely do you transition to a new coach and everybody is bought in immediately.
Exactly. So I don't know that this was a super unique situation necessarily, but I am choosing to believe in this moment that Coach Drinkwitz has kind of figured something out. Missouri is on a really exciting trajectory right now, and I don't think it's a fluke. And so I don't think that we're going to have to worry about mediocre seasons in the next couple of years. And I don't know. I'm hoping that we're headed that direction and we don't have to worry about it.
And it's just worth noting, like, Missouri has not won 10 games in a season all that often. So what the kind of comfort and leeway that affords the coach of Missouri football.
Exactly.
That can't really be overstated. I mean, if I had to say what could put him on the hot seat, like some kind of pretty big disaster last year obviously could mix things up quite a bit, but that feels like fairly unlikely with just most of the offense returning, whatever we get in the transfer portal. So, like, I mean, 3 500 seasons in a row, and then you're going into the fourth thinking you better bounce back.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like it would be that long from now.
He might have just literally like restarted his coaching like job over at year one almost in that way of as far as expectations and leash length. Yeah. Missouri just doesn't go 10-2 very often.
Right.
So
now it does feel like year to year, obviously, but I don't know. He's kind of shown that like if a bad year really is 500, if the worst year under Eli Drinkwitz is a 500 team where you still maybe win when you shouldn't, but then you lose a couple maybe you shouldn't. I think the fans can live with that settling for mediocrity, I know, but you're going to have a bad season every once in a while.
Yeah.
And if bad for Eli Drinkwitz Missouri Tigers is 500-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how much the goalposts of expectations move after the season.
Yeah. Well, it'd be very interesting to notice, like, sort of what the vibe is there.
Yep.
Good question, though. Keep them coming. Appreciate it, especially going into a little bit slower time. Kyle, we're going to talk about transfer portal here, but let's cut to the chase because this just happened as we're recording that Toriano Pride has committed to the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, so this actually works out really well timing-wise because we were just about to tell you about all the transfers. Actually, not all of them, but a lot of the transfers that Missouri has been involved with, has shown interest in, has offered some of the guys that are going to be visiting. But Toriano Pride was definitely kind of like the headliner, a guy that we were going to say we felt very confident about Missouri landing. But Pride is a cornerback transferring from Clemson, who was originally a 4-star recruit from East St. Louis. So obviously Missouri really wanted him out of high school, and that didn't happen. But we are losing 2 cornerbacks, most likely to the NFL this season. And I would say Pride's probably the number 1 cornerback in the transfer portal right now. I think that most national analysts would probably agree with that. He's only just finished his true sophomore season, and
he played a decent amount as a true freshman and sophomore at Clemson.
Yeah, played in 26 games in those 2 seasons, had 37 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 9 pass breakups. So like a sack and an interception and stuff. So pretty productive career so far, especially for how young he's been for a defense that was really, really good at Clemson. So this might have been like my number 1 desire in the transfer portal to begin with. And, we heard rumors a couple of weeks ago that, Missouri was going to probably be swinging big this offseason. And it was kind of like a name that we almost were joking about, like, oh, we'll see if Toriano Pride wants to come back home.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much the first transfer that Missouri's landed so far. So getting off to a hot start. I mean, literally 2 days ago was the first official day of the transfer portal opening. I mean, guys were announcing that they were going to be in the portal before that. But Monday, as in 2 days ago, was really the first day that you could actually even do anything. So pretty much right off the bat.
Right. And we were about to say that Toriano Pride entered the transfer portal specifically with something that I didn't even know existed before this, a no contact tag, meaning coaches do not reach out. He already knows where he's going.
Yeah.
It's done. And
so we had a pretty good feeling that was going to happen, just it was going to be a matter of when, and that just broke a few minutes ago.
Jumping back to high school real quick, he was a 4-star player according to 24/7 Sports, number 40 in the country according to 24/7 Sports, not the composite. Number 2 player in the state of Illinois, went to East St. Louis, and was recruited by everybody, all the big dogs, all the blue bloods, and Mizzou was right there. But when it came down to it, it just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. And so far, that was obviously before the days of NIL and stuff like that. So, but has looked like a hit so far, even for a 4-star recruit, has looked like very much a hit in his college career, and will be a automatic starter, probably play every down that's available next season, and looks like a pro prospect.
And there are some guys on this most recent version of Mizzou football that have been getting some deals with a certain St. Louis-based pizza company. So just makes sense. St. Louis guy, come back home, maybe get some of that Emo's money.
Yeah. Gotta start going to Emo's more often.
Yeah, I guess.
Do we even have one in Springfield? I think we have maybe one in Springfield. I don't know.
Yeah. This is where I don't say that I don't care for St. Louis style pizza. I didn't say it. I'm not going to.
Absolutely.
So cornerback though, got the best one out there. How, as far as like positionally, how high is cornerback on your list of needs, specifically from the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably have to be number one. Losing Ennis Rakestraw and Chris Abrams-Drain, I think I'm pretty sure Ennis Rakestraw has like accepted invites to play in some of the like Senior Bowl type stuff, and so he's pretty much almost 100% gone. Chris Abrams-Drain, 99.9% gone, and hopefully should just probably go continue his pro career.
Yeah,
his pro career.
It would be. I guess it would be something to have either one of them back, but I don't think any Mizzou fans are even necessarily hoping for it at this point.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah.
But Marcus Clark played well. Norwood played well. So, there's guys in that room, but Toriano Pride will almost 100% be the starter or be one of the starters there, cornerback. So that's exciting. I would say defensive tackle is going to be a need for sure as well, and those are probably the two biggest things, and running back. So 2 or 3 pretty big needs. Cornerback is one of them.
Adding Pride, do you feel like we're still in the market for another guy to start most snaps alongside him? Or do you feel like one of the returners ought to be able to step up and fill that spot, and maybe we're just looking for depth?
Yeah, I think it would probably be more depth. I mean, unless there's a really good cornerback that wants to transfer. I would say most likely, though, Norwood and Marcus Clark probably split some snaps at the other corner spot.
They played enough this year that I feel like the reps are there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a long season, and injuries happen. It's really easy to just get dinged up a little bit here and there. There's going to be plenty of available snaps, I think.
Awesome. And I don't know, just so great to have that locked down so early and just kind of set the tone of this transfer portal season, getting one of the best players out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. Don't want to take that for granted.
Oh, that's exciting.
This is new territory.
And it's like basically something we kind of knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's still exciting to see it official.
Yes.
And I just saw Toriano Pride send out his personal tweet, and just seeing that is cool.
Yes.
It's official.
Keep it coming. Okay, so we're talking about cornerbacks. We're talking about running back, defensive tackle. I would probably throw linebacker in there with Hopper leaving, and
there's a lot of needs.
Some transfers out of that room. But with linebacker position, that feels like, it's just the reality of the situation. It feels like we're moving on from guys who we're expecting would not have ever seen playing time.
I think so.
Okay.
There was some, Carmicah Glass is a guy that's announced he was transferring. DJ Wezelak is a guy who's kind of been defensive end, linebacker, kind of gone back and forth a little bit. I believe Xavier Simmons was a guy who I think had to medically retire, right? Am I mixing him up with somebody else? I don't know. But we've had some young guys that are transferred out, and it's unfortunate to see, definitely. But, I think that we've had some good producers there. And just in this era of college football, I really think almost your first look is just what experienced players are out there that I know will produce right away. That worked out incredibly well with Hopper at linebacker, and I think you'll still have those guys like Chad Bailey, who was in the program for nearly 3 or 4 years before he ever really played consistently, and was really good when he played.
And Chuck Hicks was a transfer as well,
right? So I think you're still going to just see kind of a multitude of ways the guys come up into the system, come to Mizzou. But I'm probably not too upset about anybody that we've seen transfer out at linebacker.
Then who else do you have your eye on as far as people that are in the portal, guys that Mizzou maybe all we already know will or should reach out to?
Yeah, so there's two guys that I know have confirmed visits on Twitter coming up in the next week, and they're both in positions of need. So the first one we'll talk about is Marcus Carroll Jr., and he is a running back that's transferring from Georgia State, and he's scheduled to visit next week. And I watched a little bit of this guy's film at Georgia State. He's fun to watch, and honestly, if I had to just compare him to someone, it's literally Cody Schrader. Like the same build, he's 5'10", 210, so he's just kind of short, stocky guy that will just run you over. He's not like elite speed type of guy, but he's agile enough to hit the hole, and like I said, he's a tough guy to bring down.
Looks like, again, very similar to Schrader, a very powerful runner who just keeps his legs churning, keeps fighting forward.
Yeah, over 1,300 rush yards this year with 13 touchdowns on 274 carries. So that's 30 more carries than Schrader had this season. So Georgia State was feeding Carroll Jr. the ball. So at this point, I think he's got a couple other visits lined up, but I think Missouri looks really good here, considering like the amount of snaps that are going to be vacated by Pete and Schrader. Obviously, there's opportunity to play for a top 10 team. That's got to be attractive.
I'm just looking. Georgia State went 6-6 this year in the Sun Belt. They played LSU a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
lost 56-14.
Hey, that's about as many points as we gave up to LSU.
Yeah, and Carroll in that game, 15 rushes for 87 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you're playing LSU, it's like you even run the ball because you're just going to be playing catch up the whole time.
Right.
So,
but they were definitely a run-heavy team this year, Georgia State.
For sure. So that's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Another guy that has confirmed a visit with Missouri this weekend is Aeneas Peebles, and he is a defensive tackle from Duke. I think he's a senior, so he may just have one more year to play. This past season, he had 40 tackles, 4 sacks, and 8.5 tackles for loss. So that's a very productive season for a defensive tackle, like an interior defensive lineman, was really putting pressure on the quarterback and making tackles in the backfield. So that's pretty impressive numbers there. He also has a visit scheduled to SMU, and SMU is a very, very good team. I think they just beat Tulane this past weekend.
Correct.
So
they get a bowl matchup with Oregon.
Ooh, Godspeed.
Yeah. Yeah, the just random thing. The tickets for the Fiesta Bowl, SMU versus Oregon, way cheaper, believe it or not, than Cotton Bowl tickets.
Yeah. Where is the Fiesta Bowl even played?
Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already saw like Bo Nix for Oregon. He's playing. Like they're gonna be they're gonna be rolling in that game probably. But anyways, so Peebles is another guy to keep an eye on there. I had Toriano Pride listed next. We already talked about that. Okay, so you mentioned maybe offensive line and kind of trying to find some depth there. Obviously, we're going to be trying to replace Javon Foster, who is most likely also going to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So Missouri has been taking a look at Carter Smith, who was the left tackle at Indiana, and he is a redshirt freshman and played himself into a starting role there, played in all 12 of their games at Indiana. So left tackle might be honestly one of the most underrated positions on the field, just kind of protecting the quarterback blind side. And it's been so nice to have Javon Foster there for a couple of seasons. He's been incredible. And having a kind of a staple guy there is just, you can't kind of overstate that.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of crazy to be in this position. Coach Drink has talked about it multiple times. We're picking, not recruiting.
Yeah.
But the type of player that you mentioned there, of a guy who went to Indiana and just played himself into a pivotal role very early on in his career.
Yeah, as a freshman, redshirt freshman.
And if Missouri is able to, I mean, it's in the portal, but like if Missouri is able to grab that guy who has the hypothetical trajectory to go play anywhere, and he's thinking, I showed I'm good enough here in the Big Ten at a mediocre school this year. the sky's the limit for him. I mean, he should be thinking NFL dreams, and we're putting a offensive lineman in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
Feels like a good fit to just come in and replace him. But there's other
I'm biased,
there's
but-
other SEC teams that can make the same pitch, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. And this next guy we're going to talk about is kind of fits the mold of a guy who's just getting offers from everybody, and Missouri is just kind of throwing their hat in the ring. And that's Joey Slackman, and he is a defensive lineman from Penn, not Penn State, but Penn. And this season, again, talking about just really productive defensive lineman, 50 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. So he's been one of the most sought after names in the portal so far. He announced that he was transferring early, and a lot of teams have been on him so far. So I'm not really sure what chances Missouri has there, but would be awesome if we could have a shot.
Let me give you just a random name that I found that maybe wants to come back home. I believe literally 0 production, like has not really played, but originally from Columbia, Missouri, Father Tolton High School, went to Oklahoma State, then Texas Tech, now in the transfer portal once again, Monroe Mills, offensive tackle. I don't know, maybe if you got a spot, he's like 6'6", 340 or something like that.
Sounds like an offensive lineman.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Cameron, we're picking now.
That's
So-
true. That's true.
No, for sure. That's some good research there. Trying to find those guys that want to come back home.
Maybe a diamond in the rough.
That's
Who
what
knows?
Missouri football's all about.
Yeah.
You go somewhere, you realize you just can't beat good old home sweet home.
Yeah.
Come on back.
Yeah.
That's what Missouri's recruiting pitch is built on.
A little bit different, though, with him. It seems like the player that Missouri just kind of passed on out of high school, potentially.
Yeah.
I don't know his whole recruiting story, but
Yeah. Okay, the last guy I've got listed here, and there are way more guys that Missouri's probably talking to, but these are some of the hitting the highlights here. But Arkansas's had a lot of guys transfer, and probably one of the biggest names is Chris Paul Jr. He's a linebacker, and he's had a very productive career so far. This past season, he had 74 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and he's only redshirt sophomore, so I think he's played 3 seasons, probably has at least 2 or 3 more seasons of eligibility. Linebacker, like we said, is obviously an area of need. And wouldn't it be fun just to steal a productive player from Arkansas?
absolutely.
That
Like,
player to be named in the Trajan Jeffcoat trade,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. And he would even perform better at
Yeah,
Missouri.
I think so.
That's what you got right for me right now.
That's the guys that some of the big names that Missouri's involved with, and then I'm sure this list will
Yeah.
kind of ebb and flow every week.
Yep. It's really just getting started.
I did have some names of just kind of like big transfer. Was
That's
that
right.
where you?
Yep.
Okay. Some notable transfers just in college football. Speaking of Arkansas, Raheem Rocket Sanders,
Big
their
on.
star running back, who honestly I thought after the season could be like a very high draft pick in the NFL draft, maybe even a first-round pick, which does not happen for running backs anymore, because he's just perfect, like prototype build. Like he's just a big guy. He's really fast. Would just probably automatically be one of the top running backs in college football if he was healthy all year long.
Well, that's a concern. I mean, anybody who takes him, I feel like.
Yeah. I believe he's visiting South Carolina.
Okay.
Seems like kind of a weird. Honestly, I think he could go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it seems like a little bit of a weird place to go visit. Honestly, I'd love Missouri to check in, and I think they probably will. So that's definitely Rocket Sanders is definitely a name to keep an eye on for Missouri. The rest of these names are not names that are affiliated, not Missouri's not interested in these guys, but just kind of interesting guys that are transferring. But Will Howard, who was the Kansas State quarterback for the past 2 seasons, is transferring. I thought that was interesting. And then also their backup quarterback, who I actually just remembered it. I didn't even write his name down.
Yeah.
But both, and he played some this season.
More like running quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both of those guys are transferring, and then they lost their offensive coordinator as well
Right.
to Texas A&M.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So big changes.
Speaking
for,
of Texas A&M, they're losing everybody.
yeah.
Their entire defensive line, I think, is in the portal.
Oh yeah.
And like
Lebius.
young guys who were like 5-star recruits
Yeah.
who still have can't even go to the NFL yet.
Yeah, nobody squanders talent like A&M.
Seriously.
Actually, there are a few, but
I don't know. Look into some of these guys leaving A&M, I say.
yeah, probably. Big changes for Kansas State, though. Dylan Gabriel, who was a very, very productive quarterback at Oklahoma this season. Man, say what you want about Oklahoma, but their offense was cooking for most of the season. Kyle McCord, who is Ohio State's quarterback. And honestly, maybe those two guys just swap places. I don't know.
Maybe.
But we'll talk about Ohio State here in a couple minutes. But that's obviously huge. Juice Wells, who was a very good wide receiver at South Carolina, and it already sounds like he's going to end up somewhere else in the SEC, maybe Tennessee. Will Rogers, who was Mississippi State's quarterback before he got hurt, just probably was not a good fit at Mississippi State, honestly. He's kind of an air raid type guy, maybe was a good fit in the former regime, and then just with all the changes they've had there. And I don't know why I even wrote this person's name down because it's going to be really hard to say it.
Hey, I was just looking up his pronunciation right now.
But
DJ?
They call him DJU. Like pretty much almost all the YouTube highlights I looked at, I was trying to find the pronunciation. They're just saying DJU. But DJ Ungale.
Okay.
Who started his career at Clemson, then went to Oregon State, and kind of like made them relevant. Oregon State was like a top 20-ish, top 10, top 20 team this season. So he's looking to transfer. So big names already.
I feel like him to Ohio State, maybe.
Maybe so.
Maybe. But maybe, I think Ryan Day came out already and said they're not looking for a quarterback in the transfer portal.
Like that's a lie. They have to.
Yeah.
Was that before?
I don't know. But if you're ready to talk Ohio State for a sec, we're not going to do a full preview of the Cotton Bowl right now, but Missouri playing Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl.
Massive.
Huge opportunity. Ohio State fans think they should have been in the playoff still.
I don't know about that one, but
I talked to one actual real life person who thinks Ohio State should be in the playoff. He wasn't even joking. We're just, what an incredible opportunity for Missouri. And I don't care. We're going to talk about Ohio State players they're leaving.
They've already had 12 players announce they're transferring.
They've got guys transferring. They've got guys who are going to go pro and not play in the bowl game. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't care about any of that.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it. Maybe not today.
Well, I want to hear about it, but not from Ohio State fans.
Exactly. No, this is an opportunity for Missouri to knock off one of the biggest brands in college football, one of the biggest brands in college sports.
Yeah.
And I don't care who's playing for them. They're talented. And
yes. And
this is an opportunity.
A program that comes into the state of Missouri from time to time and takes top 5 guys out of St. Louis or Kansas City.
That might be the biggest thing right there.
Yeah.
Stop taking our players.
Yeah.
out of our state.
Yeah. So, just an incredible opportunity there. And I mean, it's good news for me. I say good news for Mizzou fans is Ohio State as a team seems not bought into playing in the Cotton Bowl.
No, we'll see how the game goes. I don't want to just say this is going to be like a walk in the park or something.
No.
Like at least on like a narrative street, this is the greatest possible thing that could have ever happened for Missouri to get into a New Year's Six bowl against a huge brand who's not taking the game seriously.
Yeah.
Missouri's taking the game very seriously. Has like everybody coming back and ready to go. I don't know of anybody that's sitting out.
I think the staff has confirmed that everybody's going to play except maybe Rakestraw
probably
who's
won't.
like questionable health-wise.
Yeah. I would say the only thing at this point, maybe it might be questionable, is Blake Baker, because I think that, he might be looking to move up in the job market, but sorry to bring that up. Things were going really well there for a second, but you never know. But I would not be surprised if he's not coaching in that game, but I think we'll be all right.
Ohio State, though, they're losing their starting quarterback. A weird situation there where Ryan Day was in an interview talking about, it wasn't exactly clear to me if it was talking only about next season or if the bowl game was being discussed as well, but it kind of got turned into one question just about evaluating the quarterback position. He was incredibly non-committal, was not really singing the praises of, what's his name?
Kyle McCord?
Yeah. And just didn't really say a whole lot. And it seemed odd watching it. And then sure enough, the next day he goes into the portal. I was seeing some Ohio State people talk about well, was it the non-committal answer and attitude from Day that pushed him into the portal, or was that the only answer he could give in that moment because he already knew that McCord was going into the portal?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, all things considered, with the weapons that he had, McCord was very average.
Yeah.
And maybe it was, I don't know if he was asked to leave or just, I don't know what the situation was. I
His
mean, he
first
wasn't
year as a starter, though,
Yeah.
like he wasn't terrible
No.
by any means.
Yeah. I mean, they were good enough.
Yeah, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and a bunch of their marquee guys they've got maybe 6 guys across their whole roster that are projected first or second round picks in the NFL draft.
2 of which are wide receivers.
Yeah.
And their third wide receiver is transferring.
Correct.
So who knows who's going to play wide receiver for them? I mean, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is right now in mocks going as the number 2 overall pick in the draft.
Which is it pretty, especially for, I don't know, that's pretty unheard of in recent memory to go that high.
It's like Jamar Chase type talent. So I would be surprised if he plays in the game. But we'll know a lot more when we actually
there's a couple
preview it.
weeks before we get all that settled. And
best case scenario though, I'm super excited.
Yeah. I'm going to watch a lot more Ohio State highlights and tape just to, I don't know, it's kind of fun. Just this opponent. Honestly, I've talked so many times about like I'm tired of playing old Big 12 teams.
Yes.
I want to play like a marquee program from another conference.
This is that.
Even surpasses what I was hoping for previous times when I said that.
For sure.
I was
this
thinking,
is a team we do not play ever.
I was there's a little bit of history. I saw on Twitter a clip of Missouri beating Ohio State. Never going to remember what year it was. Long time ago, judging by the film. But Missouri,
It's like the 80s.
beat Ohio State and snapped their, at the time, I think 29-game home winning streak. A couple eons ago.
I think I saw they were Ohio State's like 2-12 versus the SEC in bowl games and however long that would be.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to keep that
I
going.
saw another one of those that was not good for Missouri. I can't remember what Missouri's like. Yeah,
Missouri hasn't done so well in bowl games in the last decade or so either.
Yeah, maybe it was just bowl games, and I was like, I don't want to read that anymore. Where were we here? How did we get on this? Ohio State. I did want to circle back around to Blake Baker, though, because that is a serious concern. Is Willie Fritz, former head coach at Tulane, took the head coaching or accepted the head coaching job at Houston, and our guy, Blake Baker, played at Tulane, and they are now looking for a head coach.
Yeah. It seems almost like too good to be true with Blake Baker to Tulane. It just seems like a perfect match.
Yeah, maybe it's just too perfect that it just won't happen.
Never hire alumni, right?
It's not a good idea.
Never hire former players.
No.
Everything will be tainted in 5 years
you
from
don't,
now.
Yeah, you don't want to burn those bridges, right?
I agree. Just keep being the defensive coordinator at Missouri.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best.
That's his dream
That's
job.
best case scenario for him.
I
Yeah,
agree.
career-wise.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, Coach Drinkwitz specifically was asked something about the assistants maybe a month ago, not that long, and he said he would support either one of them going and getting a better job, but
I mean, Kirby Moore could definitely go get another job, too.
But he said that, I can't remember the wording, but he would not necessarily support them doing a lateral move. And I think in Coach Drink's mind, Baker taking any defensive coordinator
Any
spot
other coordinator job
is a lateral move.
Yep.
Same for Kirby, but you know, I don't think he would blame the guy for going and taking a head coaching job at his alma mater.
I gotta agree with that. Yep.
I hope we don't have to deal with that.
We might.
I haven't started looking at defensive coordinator names yet.
Don't.
But-
Just enjoy it till you have to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of bouncing around here to a lot of different things. I did want to mention that CBS Sports came out with their All-American team. Cody Schrader, first team All-American.
That's as good as you can get.
Luther Burden, Chris Abrams-Drain, and Javon Foster, second team All-American.
That's awesome. Probably more seasons than not have nobody on any of those kind of lists.
Yeah.
Like national lists.
Yeah.
So to have 3 or 4 of them is pretty incredible.
And maybe I said this last week, but tied with Alabama for most on all SEC teams.
That's awesome. Cody Schrader won the Burlsworth
He took it home.
trophy.
He went back into Arkansas, came out with a trophy again.
Stealing all the hardware.
Yeah, he had a really good joke. I tuned in just in time, right after they announced his name, to see him take the stage and give a little speech. And he opened with something like he was thanking the awards show for allowing him to enter Arkansas and leave again safely.
Yeah.
That was just like a perfect little
jab.
classy jab.
Classy.
Gets the point across.
Yeah.
Got a good laugh out of the room.
Oh, yeah. Got to make fun of Arkansas.
But yeah, what an incredible season for him.
Yeah. Pretty almost mind-blowing season with all things considered.
I was thinking about sort of, there's a decent chance. Obviously, Missouri is bringing in Carroll for a visit. They're looking to replace, maybe not use the word replace, but they're looking to find the next type of Cody Schrader who can come in and run for over 1,000 yards and put up some numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before that Coach Drinkwitz historically, when he finds his guy, he just runs him into the ground. Yeah. And he did that with Darrington Evans. He did that with Tyler Beatty. He did with Cody Schrader. Once he has confidence in you, you're going to be getting the ball a lot. And I've got to think that's got to be something they can tell whoever they're talking to.
I feel like some Mizzou fans, and I think I was in this boat very recently, where I'm thinking, okay, well, we're doing this with Tyler Beatty. We're doing this with Cody Schrader. What would it look like to get maybe like a former 5-star recruit out of the portal who just needs a change of scenery, but has like all the physical tools to like be an NFL back?
Yeah.
What would that look like in this offense? And yeah. I don't know if the staff is thinking about it that way. It feels like it's more likely that they are looking for someone who can just execute the game plan.
Just headstrong.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily, maybe they're maybe not as interested in 40 times or, cone drill times.
Yeah.
They're looking for, can you read your blocks correctly? Can you set up the linebackers for a cutback? All the stuff that Cody Schrader, when he was able to overcome his lack of top end speed, he was able to do that with some of those mental aspects and just like the toughness of being an elite running back.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely say Marcus Carroll, the transfer from Georgia State that we talked about, definitely fits that mold more so than Measurables guy.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen that a player like that can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it'll just be, I feel like I'll be wanting, like every time a running back name goes into the portal, if it's like a premier athlete, I'm going to be thinking, oh, what could they do in this offense? But I think maybe we need to be prepared for a more under the radar guy to step up because, I mean, even Tyler Beatty, we were worried about him transferring to Memphis. Yeah. Before he blew up.
Yeah, Tyler Beatty was like one of the least heralded recruits in that entire recruiting class.
Right. I mean, that won't stop me from thinking, what if we got, that premier athlete at this spot? But I think the staff knows what they're looking for there, clearly. No pick 'em this week. I feel like it doesn't.
Well, we can.
You give a recap. Yeah.
Gotta give me something to do.
That's true. And we got to hear that music.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so last week we only had one game. It was the Georgia-Alabama SEC championship game.
Wow, I got 0 points on the whole week.
0 points.
I got infinitely more points than you.
Wow.
Incredible.
Was that game a little bit of a letdown? Alabama jumps out, just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. I honestly don't even know if I watched the whole thing.
It felt like Georgia was trying to come back late, but
it just kind of felt like, well, this is what happens when Georgia has to play a really good team.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really have to do that all year.
Yeah.
I guess they had to play Mizzou. That was probably the best team they played all year.
Really kind of created a little bit of chaos with the Final Four teams.
Yeah, I actually did watch the unveiling of the playoff teams because I was legitimately enthused to see who that the 3 and 4 teams are going to be. So that was fun, having a little I actually don't know who these teams are going to be.
How much producer Cameron's waiting on us now, but how much how legit Florida State. Like, what are your thoughts there? Is that a big argument, you think?
No, I just literally feel like the only explanation is like, this sucks, but it was the right decision.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like they have those like that written into their the kind of the clause written in. It's like, even if there's coaching changes, even if there's injuries, like we have to pick the best 4 teams. And I mean, obviously, if you're Michigan, would you rather play Florida State without their star quarterback or Alabama?
Right.
Like, I think that's basically like
I saw a
barometer
video
right there.
of Michigan's team seeing that they were going to play Alabama.
Of course.
And they were like, just,
there was like this,
just like visibly like disappointment
Yeah.
in that room that they were matched up against Alabama.
I think that's all you need to know right there to know that the committee made the right decision, even though it was probably very difficult to do and just devastating for Florida State.
And the way Texas and Alabama were attached to each other in the rankings
Yeah.
since the first week they came out, it was like,
Yep.
no matter how good Alabama is, as long as Texas doesn't lose,
Yep.
they're going to stay one spot ahead of them. They'll rise together.
Yeah.
And it
Which
worked
I don't.
out.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out. I don't really know that I like agree with that, but I understand why it had to happen that way. Like if Alabama and Texas play again, which they might, I think Alabama shows up. But
Yeah, give me a Alabama Texas national championship. Is that possible? And Alabama just destroy them.
that is possible.
Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for. I think
Who does Texas play? I'm blanking. Who's
the other team, Washington.
I'd rather see Washington get there,
Okay,
but
Texas losing either way would be nice.
If Georgia wins the SEC championship, does Florida State get in?
Definitely better chance,
Yeah,
right?
probably, yeah.
Over, two. Well, hold on.
who was 5th?
No,
Georgia's-
Well, over
Texas?
Texas and Alabama.
because Georgia's in, and
Yeah.
Washington and Michigan.
Yeah, so there'd only be one more spot.
Oh, that's true. Texas would have gotten in probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think Florida State, there was nothing they could have done. There was no other outcomes like that final week. That
I mean, if the only thing they could have done is like blow out Florida and Louisville with their backup quarterback, maybe that does it.
Yeah.
I was also thinking though, like imagine Mizzou going undefeated, and then Brady Cook gets injured, and Sam Horn time to shine, and the committee's like, actually no, you don't get to be in the playoff. Obviously, it never happens. An undefeated SEC champion, it doesn't
Right.
matter what happens to them.
That's true. Yeah.
They could lose half their team, and
yeah,
they're going
the
in.
strength of schedule would be better and all that. Yeah, for sure. But
All right,
yeah.
digression. Sorry.
Anyway, week 14, Georgia versus Alabama. Kyle and I picked Georgia. Cameron and the guest pickers. I can't remember who it was.
Daddy JD,
Oh, I remember it all right.
the savior,
the legend, the legend himself, he just doesn't miss.
You need a pick. Guest
He's on
pickers, you need a clutch pick.
At
You
least
know who
we-
to call.
If
At least
he-
we only had one game for him to pick.
That's
Seriously.
true. If he was the picker every week, we'd be down by 40 points.
That is true.
So, Cameron and the guest pickers got 2
Congratulations.
points. Congratulations. Just copying what the guest picker did. That's
Hey,
all right.
I'm not above it.
advantage.
Yeah,
I'm not
taking
above
that's
it.
fine. That brings our season totals to Cameron has 75, guest pickers have 79, I have 80, and Kyle has 81.
He's holding on for dear life. Just got to
We'll
close it
have-
out.
We'll have 8 or 9 games to pick,
Bowl games, bowl season.
and then some probably.
Oh, national championship game.
Mhm.
Ah,
If it's
And then
SEC.
one, maybe
Yeah.
not some.
I gotcha.
Anyway, that's that.
Well, good work, everybody. Long season of picks behind us. Almost done with it. Wow. Oh, I didn't even talk about SEC rushing leaders. Oh well. It basically all that was I made a list of the SEC rushing leaders for every year going back to 2015, just to see how Cody's season stacked up and like what kind of awards came with that title, and a couple funny things like Lynn Bowden Jr. for Kentucky,
SEC leading rusher.
SEC leading rusher, 1,400 rushing yards in 2019.
That's crazy.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the top running back, which these stats are kind of insane for him. He put up 1,400 yards on just 215 carries. It's like
That
30
was maybe
fewer
the
than
best,
Schrader.
maybe the best offense in college football history.
Correct. But only in the last 8 seasons, only 2 players had any kind of Heisman talk out of this list of SEC rushing leaders, both Alabama running backs, Najee Harris was 5th in Heisman voting in 2020 and won the Doak Walker Award.
He had 26 touchdowns or something?
26 touchdowns. That's a big number.
That's a lot.
1,400 yards, 26 touchdowns. And then going back to 2015, Derrick Henry won the Heisman, which Alabama running back winning the Heisman, that felt more normal in 2015, I feel like. But these stats are ridiculous. 395 carries, 2,219 yards, and 28 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the most productive running back seasons ever.
Insane. So,
but Cody Schrader's up there. He's in that company of names.
Yeah, Cody Schrader and Tyler Beatty will be there forever.
That's true. Mizzou's had the leading rusher in the SEC the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, in case you hadn't heard that yet.
That's tweetable.
Yeah, I may have seen that tweet before. Yeah, but it did kind of give me a little peace of mind. I felt maybe like Cody Schrader was getting, what's the word? Left out of, getting snubbed maybe for some of the national awards. But looking at precedent here, fairly normal, unless you're an Alabama running back. You forget anything else before we get out of here?
I think that's it.
All right. Then special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan DeMore, Tristan Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, and Joshua Jacobson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We love you very much. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com. Send us your mailbag questions.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.